Okay, folks, summer 2024, Grizzly has their warehouse blowout sale. I have been looking at a Grizzly 1021X2, but found this Shop Fox 1742 helical head, and after talking with Grizzly over the phone and doing comparisons with the specs for many hours, I decided to pull the trigger on this one. This one has a built-in mobile base. The motor is a little bit more powerful. I think they're all made in the same factory, some Taiwan, some China, but that's where Grizzly owns Shop Fox, and it is a well-known brand. It was delivered wonderfully. It came in a nice big crate. There was no damage whatsoever. I took pictures. The delivery guy from the freight company was very happy to bring it up to my garage, which I was excited about. I was worried about how to do that. I did have a pallet jack on standby if I needed it, but everything's kind of put in. All the parts are put in the cabinet or beneath that space of the tables and the bottom of the cabinet. So we got all that out, and here she is. Took the cover off, obviously, but the bigger concern was how to walk this off of two pallets, and this is me just kind of showing where I'm going to put it. I'm dealing with the boat in the middle of all this, but that's having a boat and having two hobbies and a very small tight space. But needless to say, the question was how to get it off the pallet, and so that's a pretty steep drop, roughly 6 to 8 inches, and so a 600 something pound machine. That was the question. What I ended up doing was taking a piece of 3/4 ply and shimming a 2x4 just under the lip of that top crate. Now I did install the caster because that's the critical part, and unbolted it from that top crate, and then put some other support pieces of wood under the 3/4 ply and just walked it off, and I'll show you that here in a second. The numbers, by the way, that were put on here, they're cheap. I'm probably gonna have to get some replacements because once I pulled that piece of clear plastic back, the numbers all came off and I had to put them back on. Same for the 15-inch planer up there above. Everything was packaged very nicely, no damage or marks or scratches. I was super excited about that. Those are the wings here. So can't complain about the packaging at all whatsoever. And here's just a picture of that ramp that I built with the 3/4 ply. Again, I screwed everything down to the bottom through the first I screwed the 2x4 down and then screwed the 3/4 ply ramp down, and then put the supports on two different places underneath just to give it some full support. And I had no issue with that. I just slowly locked in the caster and walked it down I had a friend that was going to help me with this, but I got impatient. But it ended up not being an issue, rolled it right down, and it came down off of that just fine. So I would recommend something like that, a 2.5 foot wide, 2 foot wide piece of ply with supports underneath. Screw it in, and you should be fine walking it down. So here it is out of finally in the garage on the ground, and it is a very beautiful machine. You're not putting a whole lot of things together. Probably the most difficult thing, no doubt, was getting the wings extensions parallel and coplanar. This is the wings. They've got all the the oil on it. You've got to spray some WD-40 and get all that off, which I've done here. You've got to put the hand wheel on, and that's got a little key that you kind of place down in the little spindle part, and then there's a slot for that on the handle part. Just slide the handle straight on, put a washer and then the nut, and that goes right on. I also did change out the oil to 89 degree weight, 80 to 90 weight automotive oil, non-detergent. So we got that. I drained it. What's in there is actually test oil, apparently, that comes from the manufacturer, and it's not meant to be run for an extended period of time. I did talk to Grizzly about that. So go ahead and drain your oil. This is the hardest part, is getting the wings. The bolts, they're threaded inserts on the side of these, and so just kind of have to get them in there and then play with your play with the up and down, the left and right. Use a very good straight edge. I spent the most time on this. This took 2 or 3 hours, and I wanted it just right. So do your best here. I probably could not have done this without this piece of machine. This was a rotator. It's a dial indicator that's got a magnet. It's a 90-degree angle, and it's accurate to 1/1000th of an inch. And so this is made for planers and joiners and table saws. And the way it works is you basically rotate it to top dead center or bottom dead center of a cutter head or an in-feed or out-feed roller or whatever, and then zero it out, and then go from there. And then, I mean, it's super accurate. Throw away your feeler gauges. I mean, this tool right here I'd recommend. I wanted to choke on the price. It was like $180, but you can rotate this thing. I'm trying to video and do this with one hand, but I think it worked out, and I think you can see kind of the point. But if you find the bottom dead center of one of the cutters, zero it out, and then move it to your, in this case, outfeed rollers. This is the right side of the outfeed roller. I set them at 20. You can see this 20, and then there's the left side. And folks, I did not get this. I did not put it all the dimensions of the settings exactly like the manual. I'll drop those below in what I did. This is me running the first board through this machine, and when I say there is no snipe, there is no snipe. And you'll see here just from measurements, I measured all 4 sides corners, and they are all 17.7, and so I could not have been more proud of that. So glad to have this. So this is a piece of red oak that I jointed on one side, and my joiner's just behind this, and I have the 0855 that had the straight knives, but I did upgrade to the helical cutter head a couple years ago, and obviously sold on the cutter head, which is why I have the helical cutter head here. But this was a gnarly piece of red oak, and I just took very, very light passes, and you'll see in a minute when I say there's no snipe. There is no snipe. But what I would recommend on this planer, probably as with any planer, is just take your time. Take your time with your dial indicator or your rotator, filler gauges, and just get everything just perfect. I mean, if you can do that, you're not gonna have issues. The thing that I would recommend, the manual recommends that the bottom rollers be set to a certain setting. I think it's anywhere from 0.002 to 0.020. So go low on those, as low as they'll go, especially for jointed lumber. Rough lumber, they're supposed to be a little higher, but play with that and your in-feed and out-feed rollers, and it's a little bit of trial and error. It's probably going to be different for every person, but for me, I spent a lot of time on that and got this to where I had zero snipe. It's perfect from left and right, and you'll see here there's a good bit of dust that's falling on the table. I did rectify this by pulling the chip deflector back, so to give it some more airflow, and I have no issues at this point. This does not show that change, but the chip deflector really needs to be pulled back. So you access that from the top panel and pull it all the way back, and you should have no issues at all. So dust now does not show up like it's showing in this video. In a tight space, this is not where I will keep this planer. I'll pull it out farther down. But this is just giving you an idea, and I'll let you hear a little bit of it now. So that's what it sounds like. It's so quiet. I didn't check the decibel reading, but compared to my Lunchbox planer, which is now out of the shop, sold to someone else, it is absolutely considerably more quiet. It is just such a wonderful upgrade. I'm glad to have the helical head. I'm glad to have more width. All things considered, it is well worth the upgrade. You'll see here from this board, had a little grain issue here the way it was fed, so it was a little gnarly there. But the cut quality is just absolutely phenomenal. This red oak is, I mean, it's almost like looks sanded, but you'll see there are no marks from the infeed roller. A lot of people complain about that, so make sure that that's raised up just enough where you don't get those marks. I don't have any of that. But when I was talking about no snipe, here's an example of that. I have no snipe, and so I'm going to take that as a win. So I'm going to keep my settings and check them as periodically as we go along. But I'm putting this up against the wall on the joiner side, dust collection, miter saw side of my garage. It's a small garage, dealing again with the boat. People have asked about the mobile base. It works great. I can pull it with my fingertips, getting it in and out, left to right. It is really wonderful. So great job, Shop Fox. I mean, literally pulling it with my fingertips here, pull, push. And you can see how easily I just navigated into the wall between the miter saw and the dust collection. So the mobile base is phenomenal. The 1021X2 did not have a mobile base, so that was another reason I went with the Shop Fox. But I'm dealing with a very small shop. I imagine a lot of us are who are in garages, and so space economy is important. Obviously, if the boat weren't there, we'd have more room, but I have two hobbies, and that's what we're dealing with. But everything here is on the back wall. Most things are mobile. Outfeed table is pretty big. That probably could be a little smaller, but I do use that as an assembly table as well. But this is where she's going to live for now, and I've got a Y on my dust collection, and it's going to feed into my joiner and the planer. Overall, folks, this Shop Fox is a wonderful machine. It's built very well, just like my Grizzly 0855. The paint, it's going to chip a little bit. You can see on the front of the wing here, some paint is chipped off, and that's common with any Grizzly machine I've ever seen, and I've heard of that. The lettering and those black strips of tape, adhesive tape, some of that's very cheap, and I think that could be upgraded a little better. That Shop Fox plaque, it's metal, and that looks really nice. It's a well-built machine. I kind of like the industrial, kind of old-fashioned aesthetic. I like it. It's heavy, but again, the mobile base does the work in getting it around the shop. So if you're looking at the 1742, get the helical head. Take your time, do the measurements. It is worth it for sure. I'm glad to have it. I'll probably do a 1-year review once I've put it through its paces, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm happy to have the Shop Fox. I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have about settings, measurements, or anything else. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments section below. I'll put some additional information in there, but happy to have this. This is the Shop Fox 1742 helical head, so that's the H on the end of that. Okay, folks, so that'll do it for this review of the Shop Fox W1742H. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. You won't find them anywhere else. I can't find a review of this on Grizzly's website. There's nothing on YouTube. So hopefully this first video will answer some questions for some people. But again, if you have questions, drop them in the comment section below, and I'm happy to answer, happy to take measurements or things of that nature. And I'll put some information on how I set this machine up. So anyway, until the first year review, which we'll plan to do, happy woodworking.